Well, that's it. The iRock is fixed. And what was wrong? Your guess is as good as mine, but it's fixed. So, I was up to replacing the electronic spark control module, which I didn't know existed. I was actually on Rock Auto, and I'm looking through all of the parts, the electronic parts, ignition parts, fuel system parts on Rock Auto to sort of like just what have I changed, what have I not changed, what might still be original on the car. And I came across this spark control module that lives to the driver's side of the power booster, sort of where the fuel pump relay is, and there's a bunch of relays there right on the firewall, buried in the corner on the driver's side. And yeah, I go to replace that, and it didn't do anything. How did that work? Oh yeah, so I replaced that, didn't do anything, and then I had to move the car, and at this point the problem got worse. Meaning that I had real tough time starting the car, and it took a real long time to even get it where it would idle enough where I could just pop it in gear at idle and let it, use the idle speed to get it, to move it. And I had to move the car. My neighbor was cutting a tree down, I had to move the car. So he cuts the tree down, and I had the car moved in front of, I'm getting sprayed with the sprinkler here, that's why I keep moving. So then I left it in a different spot, a little down the block from my house, for about 2 weeks, and I did not throw the solar charger on it like I usually have. And I go to get it, to move it, to bring it back to where I usually keep it. And what happened is it was dead, completely dead. And so I get the jump box out, I go to start it, and I couldn't get it to fire at all. So I took the air filter kind of ductwork off, and the mass airflow sensor out, so I could spray some starting fluid down the hatch to see if it was fuel related or spark related. And the thing fired right up, and now I thought, oh, it probably because of the starting fluid that it fired right up. No, the mass airflow sensor was unplugged. So I turned it off, I plugged the mass airflow sensor back in, and yeah, there was my problem. However, that wasn't the problem that we've been having all along. So it's not the mass airflow sensor, because if you remember, way back when, if you follow along in all the videos, we had a bad mass airflow sensor. And what we did was we unplugged it, check engine light comes on, but the car ran great. And the car stopped running great with that mass airflow sensor unplugged. So that problem wasn't the mass airflow sensor. We did put a new mass airflow sensor in it, and the problem remained. So we knew we had a new mass airflow sensor, and then we start trying to troubleshoot it. I put a distributor in, I put all kinds of sensors in, I put all kinds of wiring connectors for the sensors in, and we went down this giant rabbit hole, and there's a ton of videos on it, and couldn't figure it out. So something in there, something that we fixed, whether it was a knock sensor, whether it was the connector for the throttle position sensor, a coolant temperature sensor, I mean, the distributor, right? We replaced the distributor, the ignition control module, the guts in the everything. Whatever it was, something along the way that we replaced fixed the initial problem. However, the mass airflow sensor that we put in, the new one, the new Delphi, and that was I spent extra money to get a Delphi mass airflow sensor, that was bad. And because that mass airflow sensor was bad, everything else we were doing, although it may have fixed the problem somewhere along the way, that mass airflow sensor went bad at some point and mimicked the same problem. I wouldn't even say mimic the same problem, because at the end here, I could barely get the car started and it would never tell me it was okay to drive. So during some point, I guess I'd have to go back and watch my own videos, because at some point the car went from, you would let it sit in idle for 2 minutes to 20 minutes, and then the idle would kick up and it would say, I'm okay to drive. And it wasn't temperature dependent. Once you turn the car off and turn it back on again, even with a hot engine, you still had to wait 2 minutes to 20 minutes for it to start idling good, and you were able to drive it. So that wasn't that always worked. You could always just start it up and let it wait, and just wait it out until it said, hey, I'm okay to drive, and the idle would kick up and you get in it and drive it. At some point that stopped, and it stopped around the point that I stopped making videos on it, because I kind of like shelved it. The car sat for a good year. I was going down the rabbit hole of a prom. I did put a new computer in it, or another computer in it. That didn't do anything. But at some point, it was very difficult to get started, and that was a new problem added on to the old problem. It was very difficult to get it started, and once it would start and you could get it to hold an idle, you'd wait and it would never tell you, hey, I'm ready to drive. So something that we did fixed the problem. However, the mass airflow sensor going bad created another problem, and we thought the problem was still there, and it wasn't. I just unplugged the mass airflow sensor and the thing runs great. You get in it, you start it up, you can hit the gas and drive it. So I could put another mass airflow sensor on it. I could leave this one in it unplugged with the check engine light on. I don't give a shit. The thing runs. It's summer. We're gonna use it all summer. The computer's hanging under the dash. I'm gonna bolt the computer back up under, give it a vacuum and a wash, and my wife is gonna drive it all summer back and forth to work. That's our summer car. And 2 summers she hasn't been able to use it because of this freaking problem. I don't know what it was. I think the last thing I did, I believe, was the distributor. I think that was the last thing. I think everything else, that spark control module didn't have any effect on anything. I just put it back in the box. I'll save it just in case I ever need it one day. I have a ton of parts for this car that are all probably good. The coil, we put the new coil in. It didn't make a difference, so we left the old coil in it. So I got a new coil in a box. I got that in a box. The sensors we left in. The knock sensor we left in. So one of those sensors, or the distributor. So throttle position sensor, the knock sensor, the coolant temperature sensor, the one that goes to the one for the computer, not for the gauge, and we put new connector pieces. So something there fixed that problem, that strange problem that we were having, and now the car runs. And I'm going to leave it at that. So the iRock is fixed. I'm happy. I'll link the playlist in the description below, and I'll link it, up here, wherever we can put that little linky thing. And go back and watch. I'm actually gonna go back and watch the videos, because I want to see at what point I had trouble starting. Like, what did I change? And then all of a sudden I had trouble starting. So when did that mass airflow sensor go bad? Because that mass airflow sensor was working, because we did try unplugging it and leaving it unplugged, the new mass airflow sensor, and leaving it unplugged like we used to before we started having the problem, and that didn't solve it. So we did try unplugging it early on, and that didn't solve the problem. So something that we replaced solved the problem, and then the mass airflow sensor went bad. What a disaster, but it's fixed. As far as I'm concerned, it's fixed. We're gonna run it and drive the balls off of it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Quick update on the iRock. As always, thanks for watching.